I've switch scene. Oh. Welcome back, guys.
Hi.
I'm Chinggis.
I'm Bethany.
This is Tips from Your Boyfriend. What do we want to talk about today?
So today's Super Bowl, yay!
Yep.
I'm a 49er fan, so I'm super excited, and I'm also an Usher fan, so very excited for that. Go 49ers.
I'm not a big fan of either team, but we're going to watch. We're going to have some fun. We're going to meet with some friends.
You're pulling for the 49ers, though?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. I don't really care about the Chiefs. I don't even know who the Chiefs is. Is it Patrick Mahomes is on the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Chiefs? Okay, yeah, okay. But like, I don't know who the QB is for the 49ers. You're going to have to tell me again.
Brock Purdy. So he was a last pick
Yeah.
out of all the draft, pretty much,
Yeah.
and he came out of nowhere. He was a backup quarterback
Yeah.
and just crushed it this season.
Yeah. Because to me, the last time I remember the quarterback of the 49ers, it was Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
And the only reason I know him is because he used to be on the Patriots. I'm a Patriots fan, so if there's no, and I'm not really huge into football, so I don't really know players unless they played for the Patriots first.
I feel like that's pretty much every Boston fan in general, though. I feel like any concept that they have of sports relates back to Boston sports teams, and Boston sports teams are king out here. But
And then especially for football, and Boston sports team is always Brady and Belichick.
yep,
But then like Brady left, now Belichick's out,
yep,
and what's on the horizon?
it's a good question.
I don't know.
Yeah, next season will be interesting, I think, with the new team. But yeah, 49ers though, they've got a stacked team. They've got some really great players, some great chemistry from what I hear. So
Okay, and so you think they're gonna win?
oh yeah,
Like a complete shutout? Is it gonna be close? Is
I
it
think
gonna be like a
it's-
comeback?
I think it's gonna be a close game.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be a very, very tight game.
Because 49ers have a good offense and defense,
Yeah, yep.
but then what about the Chiefs?
I actually don't know. I'd assume that their offense is probably better because I feel like they write off of their quarterback quite a bit.
Okay,
But
but the
this
49ers,
is me talking out of my butt because I have no idea.
but the 49ers quarterback is not as strong.
No, it's not that he's not as strong. It's just that this is like his first time ever being on a stage like this. Whereas like Mahomes, he's done this several times now. Whereas the new quarterback from the 49ers, like he's crushed so many records this season. But this is a brand new experience for him. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles the pressure.
Didn't Brady win the Super Bowl in his first year?
Did he?
I think so. Or he got to the Super Bowl in the first year. Don't quote me. One or the other.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
Purdy could do it too. This
Yeah.
is his first season,
Yeah.
right? So he could win the Super Bowl his first season.
Yeah,
Become one of those
100%.
types.
Yeah.
Become famous instantly.
Yeah.
And a legend.
Definitely.
What Jimmy G could not do.
I miss looking at Jimmy G though, I'm not gonna lie. He's cute.
I think everybody missed looking at him. All the women did anyways.
Yeah.
But then he just didn't perform.
No, he got injured all the time.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyways, so Super Bowl today, but we're not going to talk about only the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about tip of the day. We're going to talk about some health stuff, and then we're going to talk about some relationship stuff, and then go on from there. So tip of the day, I think that what we're going with is to eat your protein.
Yeah. We were talking about health trends, and one of the big ones that I see out there is eating a high protein diet. So not necessarily a carnivore diet, but just getting as much protein and kind of basing your diet around protein. And it's important. I mean, protein is necessary for like every function in the body.
Yeah.
It's necessary for muscle, like
Yeah.
rehab and growth and hormonal balance too. That's
Yeah.
actually one that I think that people don't talk about a lot is your liver actually needs protein to be able to break down toxins in your body and detox them, which also relates to hormone health and skin health and all the things.
Yeah, whenever I think of protein, I always think of like in the fitness world or in the weightlifting world of hitting your macros. And your macros are your protein, your fat, and your carbs.
Yep.
So those are the three macros. Those are the big ones. And so like when you have a fitness goal, typically you'll work your macros around those fitness goals, and you have to kind of keep track over, try to think about like how much protein do you need to hit your goals, how much fats and how much carbs do you need to hit your goals. Protein's the big one, is the biggest one I think, because if you're doing any sort of weightlifting, protein's going to be, you're going to need a lot of it in order to actually build the muscle that you're looking to build. And then carbs is another big one because you need the energy in order to work out. And so generally when I think of protein, I think of hitting my macros. And obviously there's a lot more nuance to it, as you said. That's pretty much what it is to me so far.
So what do you do for getting in your protein?
I do not get enough protein.
Me neither.
Yeah. So I have this big problem where like, I think I'm getting enough protein, but I never do. And it's because my eating habits have not changed enough that I would be focusing enough on my protein. So my understanding is, general rule of thumb, when you want to eat enough protein for working out, you want to generally, like for building muscle, you generally want to eat 1 gram of protein per 1 kilogram of weight at least. And that can fluctuate anywhere from 1 gram to 2 grams, depending on who you ask. But they say that there are scientific studies done that this is a very effective method, that if you're getting below it, it's not optimal. If you're getting above it, it may or may not help it too much anymore. So I weigh about 180 pounds, turns to kilograms, divided by 2 approximately. That's my rule of thumb. But I think it's like 2.1 pounds per kilogram. But I just do 2 pounds per kilogram as a rule of thumb. And so like my weight, 180, divided by 2 is 90 kilograms. That means that every single day I need to be eating 90 grams of protein in order to do any sort of muscle building. And I'm failing at that, like really bad.
I feel like we're good about getting protein at dinner time because we either have like chicken or salmon and then a veggie of some kind and then maybe like some rice or something on the side. But outside of that, I feel like, to your point, it's hard. For me, I'm allergic to eggs, so eggs would be an easy win for me to get some protein in. I can't eat eggs, so I get a rash or headache or whatever you name it. So for me, it's hard because that's such an easy reach for protein that I can't have. And then same thing too with dairy. Neither of us can really eat dairy, which is another high protein option outside of meat. And then for me, I have trouble digesting meat. And so that's one where it's like I have to take digestive enzymes or something to kind of help me be able to digest it a little bit more easily. So that's, I think, something where I struggle as far as getting enough protein. And I don't like cooking meat. So that's one where I kind of rely on you to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think we've gotten a little bit better at it. I think we've been having more protein shakes recently just as a supplement. I think we've been having more like tuna or salmon, shrimp, but we can definitely improve.
We can definitely improve. And like on a daily basis, I think from my perspective, I know you eat less protein than I do, but I just don't eat enough. So like with dinner, we usually have some sort of meat. So whether it's chicken, whether it's salmon or shrimp or something like that. But even then, I think tops, we might be getting 20 grams of protein with dinner.
Yeah.
Like from the meats that we consume. And so like that's not nearly enough. And so that means that we need to be eating some sort of protein rich foods for lunch and for breakfast preferably.
Yeah. And
then we also need to do a supplement like a protein shake. But a protein shake usually has like 25 grams, right?
Yeah.
So as of right now in our daily habits, we're getting 20 grams for dinner, 25 with a protein shake, and then minimal with our other meals. That means that I'm hitting about 45 grams of protein a day, which is basically half of what I need.
Yeah.
And so like when I'm going to the gym, I'm working out, I'm hitting like all my goals, I'm getting tired out after my reps with my 3 sets. I'm just not my body's just not capable of building new muscle because I'm just not getting enough protein.
Yeah.
And so like I would see a lot more progress if I was eating more, but it's like you need to eat so much protein in order to like get the good solid gains, and it's really hard to do.
You have to be intentional about it, and that's the thing I think that we can improve at is actually planning it out a little bit more. And I think starting off with a breakfast that is protein heavy, I think that's one way of creating an easy win, because you know from the beginning of the day, okay, I started out with protein, which makes you crave more protein throughout the day, and it makes it a lot easier knowing, well, at least I had that really well. Yeah. One thing that annoys me though is when people call something high protein and it's not even close to being high protein. Like for example, a lot of people will say, oh, nut butters, peanut butter, high protein. It's 2 grams of protein. It's a fat. It's not a protein.
Exactly.
Or I had a client one time who was vegan, and I was asking her about her protein intake, and I was like, okay, well, what do you do for protein? She told me, she's like, well, I eat kale. I'm over here thinking, homegirl, you'd have to eat like 50 heads of kale in order to get the amount of protein that you need. Yeah. So that's one thing I think to be aware of is actually paying attention to how many grams of protein are in something that you're consuming. And two, you can't have like 40 or 50 grams of protein in a sitting either. Your body can only absorb, I think it's 30 grams of protein in one sitting. It's the max amount that it can actually like digest and break down. So spreading out your protein too is important, not just having like 100 grams of protein in one meal. It's just not going to work out that way.
That's 100% not going to work out. But I also don't know how you would eat 100 grams of protein in one meal.
It'd be like Korean barbecue buffet.
But then, like, especially if you're vegan or vegetarian, it's going to be even more difficult.
Yeah, you have to be so intentional.
Yep.
So intentional. All the beans, lentils, eggs. Oh, no, you can't do eggs if you're vegan. Yeah, chickpeas. No. Chickpeas would be one. Tempeh, tofu.
No idea what tempeh is.
Tempeh? It's a fermented something. I think it's fermented miso or I don't know, something to that effect. I forget what it is, but...
All right, moral of the story is to get more protein in ways that you can do. And like, no sweat if you can't do it, because we can't do it.
We should be doing it though, especially for us, like future planning too, thinking about families. And like, I'm trying to think of how I can prepare my body for pregnancy. That's a really, really big one. And I've heard so many people talk about the difference between pregnancies where they had enough protein and where they focused on it and just the energy that they felt and how much easier it was to recover versus people who don't get enough.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. We should definitely focus more on it also. Yeah. And another thing that I just thought of that like might be hindering us and some other people is the cost.
Sure.
Protein, I feel like, is the most expensive macronutrient that we can get.
Sure.
Because it's like majority of protein you get it from meats. And meats are the ones that you go to the store and it's like $10 a pound and you're just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I know it's a cliche that when you see like people who go to the gym, like gym rats, they eat like a crap ton of chicken. They like do a lot of pre-prepped meals and it's all flavorless and it's all just like shoveling in your mouth. And it's like not a particularly like fun experience. But like they have to do it that way in order to get enough protein into their diets.
Yeah.
And I think me and you should do that a little bit more too.
I agree. 100%.
We need to figure out like chicken's the most affordable protein source also.
Yeah.
Beef is more expensive. Fish is definitely more expensive. Chicken's probably the easiest one. Chicken breast will probably be the best in terms of leanest proteins. And then, I mean, getting rotisserie chickens from like Costco or something like that would probably be pretty decent too.
Yeah. Turkey is another good one. Ground turkey is a very lean meat. I know not everyone likes turkey. I know you don't like turkey, but it's an option. Venison, bison, if you have, I know those are more expensive options, but those are also some very clean, low hormone options that they have out there. Another trick that I see a lot of people doing is mixing protein powders into different things, whether it's their coffee, whether it's their yogurt, because there's a lot of unflavored protein powders out there that you can kind of just stick it into like random little things to add more protein to it. So that's a sneaky way of getting more protein into your diet as well.
Agreed. Protein powder and yogurt is probably pretty decent. But at the same time, they also make Greek style yogurts,
right?
Which are very high in protein as it is already.
It's true. Kite Hill, if you're vegan or dairy free, is a great brand that has some Greek yogurt options and other ones that are a little bit higher protein for those who can't handle dairy.
Yep. So would you see, so we're talking about protein because I think you saw it on social media?
Yeah.
What were you seeing on protein social media?
I was just looking at different like health trends that I'm seeing a lot. I don't use TikTok, but I'm trying to understand how it works just in case it's something you and I ever advertise on or anything like that. And I see it a lot of like, oh, this is my protein intake. Cottage cheese is big right now. So many people are using cottage cheese and like whipping it up and putting it in breakfasts and different things to give it that extra protein, because cottage cheese is a great protein source.
Yep.
So that's one that I see a lot of. Like I said, putting protein powders in different things. Be Well by Kelly has an awesome protein powder. That's the one that we use. It's only like maybe 3 or 4 ingredients. There's nothing extra added to it, which I appreciate. What else?
Wait, which one do we use? Be Well?
Be Well by Kelly. It's the chocolate protein powder that we use as well.
Oh, got it.
She has an unflavored one, which I like using in smoothies, and then a vanilla protein one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she also has vegan.
And that one's non-whey, right?
No, that one's, I think bone broth is the.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very minimal ingredients.
Yeah, because whey is derived from dairy, and so we're trying to avoid that in general.
Yeah, I can't handle that. My tummy doesn't
But
like it.
if you don't have any issues with dairy, then whey protein is probably a pretty good source. It's
Yeah.
relatively cheap too.
It's the best source as far as like protein option goes
Yep.
for protein powder.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, I see a lot of meats. I see a lot of people doing like turkey bacon or snacking on that kind of stuff, or like protein waffles, I think is one of the other trendy ones.
That's funny.
Put a protein powder inside waffles. Eggs. That's the one that I get so disappointed by. I really hate that I can't eat eggs. That's such an easy win for protein.
Yeah, I think it's 6 grams per egg. That means that if you want to get like 24 grams in, that's 4 eggs. You scramble it up, put some vegetables in there, easy peasy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Protein's great. I have a love-hate relationship with it because it's delicious, especially when you prep it and cook it well. But then, like, in order for you to get the exact amount that you need to get, I need to double my intake of protein daily, basically. At which point, it's like, I need to start pre-prepping protein, otherwise I'm not going to be getting enough. And then if I pre-prep protein and like do it all the time in order to get the amount that I need, it becomes very bland and very routine and like not flavorful or interesting.
I feel like that's where learning different seasonings and techniques in preparing it comes in though. So like using like lime or lemon or, you know, whatever seasonings that you want to use, I think that can help with the variety factor of it.
Keep it interesting. Do what you can in order to get your protein up, but keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if it's not interesting enough where you're gonna get bored of it or hate it, then it's gonna be counterproductive.
Yeah. To your point though, I think that if you are gonna go high protein, like number one, you definitely have to plan it out. It's not something that you can just like willy-nilly be like, I'm gonna go high protein. It's just not gonna work out that way. And I think the mentality behind that when you're creating or when you're planning that diet for yourself is at each meal or at each snack, planning around your protein source. Be like, okay, well, this is gonna be my main source of protein, and then you can build your meal around that. Not forgetting the veggies. Veggies are important too.
Well, of course, you need your other nutrients too as well. So don't do a meat eater's diet.
The other health trend that I was seeing online that was really funny to me was because of the Super Bowl coming up, I guess there was a clip of one of the players mic'd up on the field and he sacked somebody and was like, it's a Pilates, man. So everyone's like, oh, what is Pilates and what are these athletes doing? And Miley Cyrus also recently performed and people were commenting on her body and how in shape she is. And I guess she's a big Pilates advocate.
So what is Pilates?
So Pilates is, so there's mat Pilates where you don't use any equipment, and then there's reformer Pilates. The reformer is a piece of equipment, I can talk.
Slow down, babe. Don't worry about it.
Developed by Joseph Pilates, and it's a system of pulleys, essentially. So it's kind of like a resistance band workout, if I were to compare it to anything. You have a bunch of springs that you put on to create the tension.
So the word Pilates comes from the guy's name.
Yeah, it's his last name.
Got it. Okay. I always wonder where Pilates, the name, comes from.
Yeah, his name is Joseph Pilates. And I can't remember if this is a rumor or if this is actually how he developed it. The story that I heard was that he was in an internment camp in Germany during World War II. And he used a bunch of the trash that was kind of lying around in the internment camp to create this system, essentially.
Okay.
Which I can't remember if that's actually a true story or not, but that's what I heard. And so he developed this method. A lot of dancers use it because it's a lot of lengthening, it's a lot of resistance. But the reason why I actually love Pilates is the fact that it gets the little tiny muscles that you forget to work out.
Yep.
So it works your range of motion and it hits all the muscles that kind of get neglected when you're just doing squats or deadlifts or step ups and whatnot. So what I think of when I think of Pilates is just, it's kind of fine tuning and it makes everything else that you do more efficient. So whereas yoga is a lot more like stretching, mobility, movement, Pilates is like range of motion, but strengthening through that range of motion. It's a lot of core too.
All right. So I'm still having a little difficulty picturing in my head. So when I picture of yoga, I always picture somebody doing downward dog. I was thinking somebody doing like going through the vinyasa or doing like a warrior two pose or something like that. You know what I mean? That's what I think of when I think of yoga.
Yeah.
So like if I were to place Pilates somewhere, like what's like the downward dog of Pilates?
So there's something called the series of 5, which is like a core routine.
Yeah.
Where it's a series of different core exercises to kind of hit the different muscles that surround the spine and stabilize the spine. So that I would say would be probably one of the main ones. Footwork is another one. So,
So the core routine is 5 movements?
5 different, yeah.
But like what's one of them?
So here we go.
You don't
There's one called the crisscross, which is basically like bicycle. It's another word for bicycle. You have like a double crunch. You have a single leg. One here. You have the double leg.
Okay.
Yeah. You have one where you're here. Yeah. So it's different core. Yeah. It's a lot of core. It's a lot of spinal stability. So people who have back issues, Pilates is really good for people who have back issues, for one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's like resistance that you're supposed to be using while you're doing these kinds of things.
Yeah. So if you're doing the reformer Pilates, then you're going to have springs that are resisting you that you have to push against. So it makes it a lot harder. And then if you're doing mat Pilates, it's just kind of everything that you do on the reformer, but without any equipment, which a lot of times people think would be much easier, but sometimes it can be even harder that way.
Okay. I mean, that kind of explains Pilates more to me. I can kind of place it in my head now, kind of like categorize it as like this type of exercise or something.
Sure.
I don't know if I'll do it.
I really enjoy it because it's low impact, so it feels good in your body. You feel really like not tight, that's a bad way of putting it, but you feel almost put together, I feel like is a good way of describing it. So for me, I'm hypermobile. I have very loose joints. And so for me, when I do Pilates, it makes me feel more intact with my joints. They don't feel as loose. They don't feel as unstable. I feel stable when I'm doing it. And I feel like I've used my whole range of motion. So I feel like I've actually had full movement of my body, as opposed to when you're working out, a lot of times it's just like, you know, sagittal plane movement or frontal plane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so these football players are doing Pilates?
They are. I mean, one thing, again, too, going back to the whole idea of Pilates, it strengthens you throughout your whole range of motion. So when you have these massive athletes, they have to be able to move and move quickly and efficiently. And that's why they do Pilates, because it helps with those tiny, fine motor skills that helps them be able to do that. And it keeps them mobile, too, while they're at it.
So he did Pilates, and so he got a tackle, and then he bragged about it, I guess.
Yep, pretty much.
All right. I mean, I'm not a football player, so I guess I don't have to do Pilates.
But yeah, people with back issues can really benefit from Pilates. Golfers can really benefit from Pilates with all the rotational and anti-rotational work that's done there. And also, too, Pilates is really good about isolating from side to side. So when you're working out, a lot of times people can miss doing single leg or single arm work. And Pilates, you're definitely doing single leg and single arm work. So it can help correct imbalances that you might have.
Okay.
It's still not sold?
No. It's not that I'm not sold. It's just like I've never done Pilates.
Sure.
I've done yoga like sporadically, and I've always associated with them a little bit closer in my head. But then it's just like I don't know if I want to do Pilates or not. And then it's like I don't really know enough about it still. And I feel like majority of people don't know enough about it either. So
Yeah, it's definitely a West Coast thing I've noticed, because on the West Coast, like, I mean, I've been doing Pilates for I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
I'm mat Pilates certified.
Yeah.
I've been doing reformer Pilates for forever. Out here, it seems like a lot of people, we're in Boston, I feel like a lot of people don't know what Pilates is. The Pilates out here isn't great. It's very expensive. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know enough about it.
It's fun. I enjoy it. It's something different. And like I said, it hits all the muscles that I feel like you can tend to neglect during regular workouts.
I mean, maybe we should try it one day, but I don't know. We'll see.
Lifetime has it.
Yeah?
Yeah, they have an intro class that you can take.
Okay.
We should do it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. We'll report back.
Don't know about that. Might have to wait for a little bit to do that. We'll
Sure.
see. But anyway, so the football player did it, and now it's all over social media. And
Yep.
so everyone's talking about Pilates and how great it is and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. One thing I will say is If you're looking for weight loss, Pilates is not your go-to for that.
Okay.
Because a lot of times I think women see these girls who do Pilates and they're super tiny and they look really toned and all the things that a lot of women kind of strive for when it comes to like body image.
Yep.
But it's not going to help you lose weight, really. It's just not.
Got it.
So that's something where you definitely need to strength train and do some cardio and whatnot if you want to lose weight.
Yeah.
Pilates isn't really your option for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any last words about Pilates? I feel like I've been Pilatesed out already.
Yeah, we can move on.
All right. So that's the health portion. Now we're going to be doing the fun portion of it. Usually we talk about relationships and we talk about drama, not drama, but like how to handle different things when it comes to like different relationships between two people. But I feel like over this last week, we haven't been too hung up on a lot of different things. Like nothing has come to us like completely. So we wanted to instead discuss something fun and maybe controversial, maybe not. But we both took an MBTI test, which is the Myers-Brigg personality test.
Mm-hmm.
And we both got unexpected results.
Yeah.
And it was funny.
It was very different from what I got previously. So before I used to be an ENTP. So first of all, it's introverted versus extroverted is the first.
Yeah, so it's a Myers-Briggs test. You go online and you answer a bunch of questions about how you deal with social interaction, or how ambitious you are, or like how you think about things. And then it categorizes you into one of 16 different personality types. And those 16 different personality types are they're defined by how you fall on 4 different binary scales.
Yep.
So it's like the first letter of the MBTI is you're going to be either extroverted or introverted, right? So like
Meaning that you gain your energy from being around other people or gaining your energy from alone time.
yeah. Second letter is I don't know.
It's so N or S. It's sensing, meaning that you're more observant as a person, or intuitive, meaning that you rely based off of your own like feelings and judgments, I believe.
Yeah, so the first one is energy. So you can be either extrovert or introverted. And I think the idea behind that is that extroverted people gain energy in social relationships or interactions, and introverted people lose energy in social interactions. The next one is mind. And so you're either intuitive or observant.
Oh, what were your percentages? Let me see what my percentage was. I'm curious. So it says that he was 61% introverted. And for me, I'm extroverted. But let me see the percentage. It was
Right.
75% extroverted.
Right.
So then
Interesting.
we have intuitive versus observant. I used to be intuitive and then I switched to observant. And I feel like that actually happened because of my career. Because with my job now, since I've been in this industry for a lot longer, my job is literally observing people and adapting to them. And I think that's kind of why my personality shifted a bit with that. But I was disappointed when I saw that. I was like, I'm intuitive. I'm not basing my things off of other people. But yeah, I was a little disappointed in that shift.
So the third type is between thinking and feeling. I am 68% thinking.
I'm 70% feeling.
Yeah.
That one's always been a strong one for me. I've always been an F on that one.
Right.
Oh, no. We didn't know. I was an ENTP. So I used to be thinking. Definitely feeling now, though. That one wasn't, yeah.
And then the last one of your 4 letters is between judging and prospecting. I am 51% judging, so I'm very much in the middle between the two.
Yeah, I'm pretty close behind you. I'm 63% judging.
Yep.
Which, again, is one that switched for me because I used to be prospecting versus judging. Because judging, I believe, is more of you kind of have your set routines, you like consistency, stability, clarity, whereas prospecting is a little bit more of the adventurous side and kind of go with the flow, making the most of kind of what comes at you. And that's what I used to be. And again, I feel like I kind of got more boring.
Well, nothing's more boring than being just straight up in the middle.
So I am a console. It's ESFJ. So extroverted, observant, judging, and then feeling.
Yeah. And so I'm almost the exact opposite besides judging. So I'm INTJ. I am introverted, intuitive, thinking, and judging.
Which had changed for you as well.
Yeah, it changed a little bit. The only thing that changed since the last time I took it, which was years ago, was that I was ENTJ previously, which is that I'm 61% introverted now, but previously I was extroverted. So maybe I was 60% extroverted also. And so now I am called the architect personality type. Previously I was the commander personality type or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
I went from being the entertainer and being only 3% of the population is my thing to being the most basic, almost like maternal personality. Mine is like very warm, caring, and, you know, loyal and boring. But it's just interesting to see how you evolve over the years and how you kind of shift and change, because I feel like before I was a little bit more just kind of marching to the beat of my own drum and more go with the flow, and now I can appreciate some more stability in my life, I feel like.
Yeah.
Now that I'm in my 30s.
Like previously I was the ENTJ, which is the commander type, which is basically achieve things my way and to help everybody else. Now I am the architect, which is achieve things but be less extroverted about it. Like, I don't know, like this is just like the summary is basically is architects are imaginative and strategic thinkers with a plan for everything. These thoughtful tacticians love perfecting the details of life, applying creativity and rationality. Makes me sound super boring.
So some of the adjectives for mine were empathetic, organized, practical, averse to conflict, definitely me, caring, feeling supported by others, loyal, warm. Whereas yours is more independent, logical, curious, dismiss emotions, strategic, analytical, determined, and
Arrogant. No, that's not good.
It was interesting too because we read how our personalities kind of mesh, and a lot of it revolved around the whole feeling versus not feeling side of our like personalities.
Yeah. INTJ weaknesses: arrogance, dismissive of emotions, overly critical, combative, socially clueless.
Oh.
Ouch.
Let's see, what was mine?
I don't think I'm socially clueless.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I think the only reason that I became introverted compared to extroverted before is because of COVID.
Yeah.
Because the last time I took the test was, I don't know, like my last job, which was over 3 or 4 years ago, which is before COVID, which was I was in the office and I was talking to people and I was hanging out with people. Now it's like with my new job and working from home, I don't talk to anybody besides online.
Yeah.
I used to go out and drink and party with those people, but now it's like work from home,
Yeah.
have my own life, do my own thing, have my own hobbies.
Right. I think for mine, again, it kind of comes back to my career in a lot of ways and the way I've adapted just doing what I do for a living. And then also, too, I think our relationship probably changed things as well now that I'm like, I value a little bit more security, stability, and that kind of stuff. Whereas before, I used to be like, woo.
I think everybody changes with the age.
Yeah.
That definitely 100%.
Yeah.
Because if me and you met 10 years ago,
it wouldn't have worked. Straight up, it wouldn't have worked.
You don't know that. It could have been different. Could have been a different dynamic in general.
I don't think it would have worked. I don't think I was mature enough or flexible enough. I had this idea of what I wanted. I thought I knew exactly what I was going to end up with and marry, and it wouldn't have been you. Also, too, again, kind of going back to like your lifestyle of like you enjoyed partying, going out, and that kind of thing. That was never my jam.
I mean, I didn't party that hard.
What are you talking about? He tells me stories, and I'm like, okay.
No, I didn't
He used to be a
party.
server.
Right, but like when you're a waiter in a restaurant or something like that, you're not exactly partying. You're just drinking with your coworkers 3 nights a week.
That's partying.
That's not partying. Partying is like going out to clubs and like doing crazy stuff.
Did you not do crazy stuff?
I did
As the one
some.
who did cocaine in a garage.
I did some crazy stuff, but not nearly as much as other people. So no, I wouldn't consider myself a partier.
Okay, we live in Boston around a bunch of alcoholics, so I feel like our barrier for like partier versus non-partier is very different. Because by LA standards or California standards, you 100% would have been a partier.
I feel like I would not have been a partier in LA standards.
Yeah.
I don't think you know what partying means.
I don't think you do.
Like
Let's
going
look
out,
this up.
going out on a Friday or Saturday night and drinking, and then coming home when the bar closes. That's not exactly partying.
Partier. Urban Dictionary. Let's look this up. Partier, someone. Where is this? Someone who parties often and or hard. And then it has like different kinds of partiers. Let's see. What does it mean to be a partier? Person who enjoys hosting or going to parties? No. People who like to drink, use recreational drugs, have sex, gamble, dance, and fight in the name of fun. You used to like to drink in the name of fun. So I think that would be a partier.
I guess. I don't know. A little different. Anyways. If we met when we were younger, it would have been a different dynamic for sure.
Very different.
But good thing we changed when we're older.
That's true. Yeah, we met at the right time. I feel like life had to kind of teach me a lot of things to let me be open enough to date you.
Agreed. Same with here. COVID brought us together.
It's true.
I don't know. Like, although personality-wise, like according to the MBTI, I only changed from being extroverted to introverted in terms of my personality. Went from an ENTJ to an INTJ. That's pretty much it. And so it's like if I get a new job where I have to go into the office and talk to people, maybe I'll just switch back from being an INTJ to being an ENTJ.
Sure. Yeah, I'm curious if we do this again in like a few years, what would change?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, personalities are interesting. One of the big ones in LA is astrology. When you first meet someone, they're like, what's your sign? So
What time of day were you born?
I literally asked him that, and he didn't know, so I made him text his mom to find out what time.
Nobody knows.
You know.
I don't know.
Well, you know now.
I don't remember.
You were born between 3 and 4 a.m. No, one thing that made me bad about you is I thought you were born in Moscow, and it turns out later that you were actually born in Ukraine, and that changed your natal chart significantly. So that was an important detail for me to learn.
How did that change anything?
It changed your rising sign, because before it said that your rising sign was a Capricorn, which didn't really fit. But once I put you in Ukraine, your rising sign is Aquarius, which makes more sense.
I don't understand. How did that change my rising sign?
It's based on the hour that you were born. So your rising sign is how you kind of appear to the rest of the world. So your sun sign is kind of your natural nature, whereas rising sign is how other people perceive you.
Sure,
and
but
so
like, how
it's by like hours of the day, essentially. So whereas I think it's every 2 hours that the sun moves through a different sign. And so it's whatever sign the sun is in is what your rising sign is.
But if I was born at between 3 and 4 a.m. in Moscow versus 3 or 4 a.m. in Ukraine, what's the difference?
Because you're in a different part of the planet, so the sun has a different like location from that point.
So it's where the sun is in the sky.
Yeah.
This is just some weird crap.
Yeah. So your big three are you're a Taurus because you're born in April, and then you're a Scorpio moon, and then you're an Aquarius rising. Whereas I'm a Taurus as well because I'm born in May, and then I'm a Aquarius moon, and then Sagittarius rising. We're both Tauruses, babe.
Yeah.
But it plays out in different ways, for sure.
Astrology and MBTI just go hand in hand. They're both pseudoscience and, oh. Well, at least the MBTI, you answer a bunch of questions in terms of like what you would do in situations, right? So at least you can analyze that in some way and categorize yourself.
I feel like astrology is interesting though because it's been around for how many hundreds of thousands of years, and so I feel like, and also too, I feel like everything does kind of have its own energy to it. So I can understand like, because for example, like the moon, when there's a full moon, people go crazy, and there's like actually more crime on nights where there's full moon. So I can imagine like planetary movements having some impact on like people's like moods and whatnot.
I can't imagine that.
It's okay. You're a Scorpio moon, which means that you're suspicious, so. He's like, who did I marry?
No, I have no idea like what any of this means, and so I'm just like sitting here like being like, okay,
Yeah,
that's cool.
Taurus is like grounded, earthy, or you like sensations, cozy, that kind of a thing. Whereas, so you're a Scorpio moon, which is a water sign, which means that you're very like in your emotions and you're a bit skeptical and a bit like suspicious. And
Okay, so question for you then. In terms of MBTI types, where opposites and opposites attract, we're fine, we figured it out. That's easy
Sure.
enough. In terms of astrology, fuck astrology, but like, how do we match in terms of our signs?
So because we're both Tauruses actually go really, really well with each other.
Okay.
Which is why I find that I actually attract a lot of Taurus friends or other earth sign friends just because our grounded nature kind of like we vibe.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I think that we differ a little bit with it is our moon signs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm an air moon sign, you're a water moon sign. And so I think that's where we get a little bit, because that's, your moon is your emotional world. And I think that's where the way that we handle our emotions is a little bit different.
Definitely very different.
Yeah. So that's the only one I think that's kind of a bigger conflict thing. Our Mercury signs are the same. So again, you and I are Taurus, which means that I think that our communication styles are very similar in the way that we communicate, which makes sense because like you and I don't really disagree too much. And when we do, we're very quick to resolve, I feel like.
Yeah, pretty quick.
And then with our Venus signs, which is like how we like to love and like home environment, you're a Taurus Venus, which means that you like to be more cozy and kind of like get into routine. And whereas like I'm an Aries Venus actually, which likes a lot of like, let's switch it up and like very passionate. And then, yeah, I think we're a little bit different in that regard.
But overall, we're supposed to be matching.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, next question. This is where I was going with this. Like, I read about people who take astrology almost as like a red flag
Yeah.
in two different ways. Number one, they think the study or like the interest in astrology itself is a red flag. And so like if someone's interested in astrology, you're just like, okay, no, I don't want to deal with this.
Sure.
Which is, I think, dumb because it's like, it's a person on the other end, you don't know that person. So like you're kind of rejected them over something superficial.
Sure.
Which is dumb. But then secondly, there's the opposite side of the coin where somebody is interested in astrology and they reject somebody because of their sign.
Yeah, I've legit had clients or friends be like, oh my gosh, he's a Virgo. I cannot date him. I've been on dates before in LA too where the guys actually asked me what my sign was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do people do that?
It's just a way of kind of understanding someone and their personality possibly, and just kind of understanding, okay, well, this might be how they tick and how my energy would vibe with theirs. So, and two, if like you've dated people in the past who are a certain sign, I feel like people can be a little bit like judgmental in that regard of, oh, well, I've dated a Virgo before and he was awful, so all Virgos must be awful. But there's so much like nuance to it, and again, it's just like you said, it's kind of superficial to do things like
It
that.
doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
When somebody does either side of that equation, where you reject somebody because they're into astrology, or you reject somebody because they're not your sign, or something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like there's another person on the other side of the table of you, and you want to get to know them, even if it's a little bit over one date, like superficially, even a little bit, and then you can just make a decision from there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like if we were to go back to our Myers-Briggs things, we have very, very different Myers-Briggs. It's
Yeah.
like if I were to ask you, like, oh, what are you? And then find out that you're an introvert or you're something else, then I'd be like, oh, I can't date with that. I just feel like you become very inflexible and you miss out on a lot if you do that in life.
Yep, I agree. It's much more important to get to know the person first, and then figure out where you want to go from there.
Yeah. I feel like values speak a lot louder too. And actions follow up.
Yeah, and that takes a little bit of time to come out.
Right.
So you got to get to know them for a little bit.
Right.
Freaking astrology. It's like there's been a resurgence into it, definitely, in the last couple of years, because I feel like 10 years ago, nobody cared about astrology.
I wouldn't say that. You're just an East Coaster.
And people here are smart, and they don't care about astrology.
Yeah, but they also don't care about health stuff either, so.
Yeah, kind of. There's not this big emphasis on, what do you call it? Like,
Self-care, health and wellness, taking care of yourself, not drinking.
yeah,
I'm not
what do you call
judging.
it? There's not a big emphasis here on, I don't know how to describe it, healthy lifestyles, or like preventative health,
Yeah,
where
none.
instead of like thinking to yourself, like, I'm going to build up these good habits and so that I'm going to stay healthy and keep my health intact.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people here who are just like, oh, our healthcare system is really good here, and so they're just like, oh, if anything's wrong with me, they'll fix it.
yeah,
Instead of like preventing the issue from happening, they're just like, if the issue happens, I'll be fine.
yeah. Which is a very naive way of looking at it too, because,
Right.
yeah, I won't go off. I could go off. I'm not going to go off. I will restrain myself right now.
Which doesn't make sense to me. I think it's a different culture, definitely. Different types of people think about different cultures like that, definitely. And then like everybody can, I think, benefit from thinking more so about their health as something that is intact and they want to keep and maintain, rather than thinking to themselves like, oh, only if it falls apart, then do I try to fix it.
Yeah, 100%. It's about quality of life, and you have to start now. You have to start building that lifestyle, like you
Right.
said, because otherwise you're going to be scrambling last minute, and at that point, usually it's too late.
Yeah.
And also taking responsibility for your own health instead of depending on the system to take care of you.
Yeah, no, definitely, I agree.
Yeah.
No astrologists out here too. Although there are more and more. So,
I was going to say, we're
like,
close to Salem, actually, and Salem has a ton of astrology
of
stuff
stuff,
going on.
yeah.
Yeah. They're
know.
definitely more woo-woo.
astrology, MBTI, and all that kinds of stuff. I know that there's a corporate one, the disc profiles or something like
Yeah.
that, and I'm just like, I don't like that one either. It's basically MBTI with like this weird facade of being like corporately useful,
Sure.
and so they repackaged it, remarketed it as like something that corporations can use in order to manage their teams and all that kinds of stuff.
I remember Equinox had us do a disc training, and
Yeah.
it was as a sales tactic of figuring out where do I think my client fits in this, and this is how I speak to them if
Yeah.
I know, which to me seems a bit, what's the word? Like discriminating? That's not a good word for it, but I feel like it's, let me categorize you and treat you how I think you want to be treated based on that category. It just, I don't know, to me, it never resonated. However, with the DISC assessment, I was an I, very, very high I, which means I is for influence. And that was, I'm a people person. And so that one was what I was very high at. On the S, that was the one, was it S or C? I think it was the C that I was like very, very, very low, like extremely low. Yeah, accuracy was the one that I was like a 0 at. I don't care about systems. I don't care about routine. I don't care about rituals or any of that. I had like the very lowest on that one.
Mm-hmm. So DISC is a model that categorizes personality profiles into essentially kind of this circle, and then you fall into one of the pieces of the pie essentially, and then you'll have like a combination of personality types of which one's your dominant personality type. And so like D is dominance, and people who are dominant tend to be confident and place an emphasis on results. I is for, what is I for?
Influence.
Influence.
Yep.
More open and place an emphasis on relationships. S is for support or sincerity. Tend to be dependable and emphasis on cooperation. C is towards conscientiousness. Is that what it is?
I think so.
Conscientiousness, yes. Place emphasis on quality, accuracy, expertise, and competency.
I was so low on that one.
I remember that I took this profile with my coworkers at Tufts, and it was kind of hilarious. I don't know if I can find a picture really quick.
Because you were a D, right?
I was a D, yes, but everybody in my office was a C.
Oh, funny.
And so I was like,
I think I was like 3% at a C, like the lowest that you can possibly get on that one.
I was like entirely out of place.
That's funny.
Yeah. Here, let me give me a second. Let me try to find it.
Sure. Yeah, the other one that's popular, I think, is the Enneagram test, which I don't think I've ever done the Enneagram. That one gives you a number, I believe, 1 through 9 or 1 through 8, and that one talks about different aspects of your personality as well. Yeah, with the DISC assessment, I feel like it's more cut and dry because there's only 4. And so, yeah, I was influenced, and then D was my secondary. What was your second? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I think I was like straight up in the D corner.
Wow.
Just straight up.
That's how I was for I, honestly, though.
I don't know. I can't find it. But yeah, so I was basically almost entirely in the results section. So like, I don't know if you guys can see it. There you go. I was in the upper left corner in the D over there. And so like everybody else in my entire office, almost everybody else in my entire office, everywhere around C, there was one guy who was in the S area, and then I was completely in the D area. It was really funny to see.
I think without assessments, I think in generalizing your personality versus mine, I think you're a lot more analytical than I am. Kind of going back to the feeling versus thinking. That one you're definitely thinking. I'm more of a feeling, and I feel like that's one of the bigger contrasts in our relationship, for sure. And then the extroverted versus introverted. For me, I would honestly say I'm an ambivert, though, mostly. Because if I have too much time around other people, I start to lose energy. If I have too much time by myself, I definitely start to lose energy. But more in the extroverted compared to you.
It was just so funny. Like, yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm definitely more introverted, definitely like different in that sense. It was just really funny in my office. Because like at one point we all took it individually, right? And then we all got our own results. And so like I would go and like talk to my coworkers, some of my friends there. And then we could like, we can, what do you call it? We can compare results before we got into like a huge meeting with my entire department. And then like we were kind of trying to understand where all of us are, and I already understood it among my friends. I was already an outlier compared to like everywhere else they were. And then like we got into the office, like we got into this big meeting of my entire department from like top to bottom. From like I was an actuarial analyst, and so like there was a chief actuary, all the directors of actuarial, the managers, and all the analysts and all that of the entire actuarial department. There was maybe like 50 of us, and like they put it on the screen, everybody's results.
That's funny.
And it was just like smack in the top left, like Chingus up there, and everyone else is like in the C, and then there's one other guy in the bottom right in the S, and I'm just like, me and you, we just fucking stick out.
That's funny.
It's like we don't belong here. We do not belong here.
That's really funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny too when we were looking at, based on the Myers-Briggs, our relationship dynamics and what they recommend based off of our personalities. And like a lot of it came down to our emotional world and how we deal with feelings, I think.
Yeah.
Which is true because like I externally process and I can be very big in my feelings, whereas you for like to have alone time to kind of process things if you get in your feelings.
Very internal processor.
Yeah.
Like 110%.
Yeah.
Because I'll just process everything internally, and then like after the fact, once I figured, and once everything is settled, then I'll communicate what happens.
Yeah.
I won't like communicate before that.
Yeah.
It is what it is. We're different.
Sure.
That's okay.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Balance.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, long story short, all these different types: MBTI, DISC, astrology. It's an interesting way of like categorizing people, right?
Yeah.
So it's like like the most basic categorizations is like people put people either in one bucket or another bucket, and so like obviously the political is left and right, but then like personality wise, we always categorize as somebody who's an extrovert, somebody who's an introvert.
Sure.
And then like why not take like this one binary scale and add a couple more? And like see like, oh, how do these people think about things? How do these people go around solving problems? How do these people go do this like this? And like then you like take it instead of one binary, you add a second binary, and then a third and fourth and all that, and like you get someone who's like you get their DISC profile or their MBTI, or astrology is not even that sophisticated.
Sure. Or we just had Chinese New Year, which is the year of the dragon. Do you know what you were for?
Snake.
Snake? Okay, I was the horse.
Mm.
I don't know what that means for personality. I know that they have a certain breakdown for what that means as far as personalities. But
Just
yeah.
another astrology, babe.
Yep.
Enough about astrology. I don't know if I can keep talking about astrology.
That's funny. No, the other one that I'm thinking of too is in Ayurveda, which is an Indian version of healthcare, essentially. So with traditional Chinese medicine, they have different ways of kind of approaching your demeanor based on personality in a way. They do kind of a personality analysis when they come in and evaluate you based on physical feature, based on demeanor, or whatever. Same thing with Ayurveda. They have a certain way of, it's your doshas. And so there's kapha, which I think is wind, I want to say. Pitta is fire. There's one for water, and then one for metal, I think. So it's kapha, pitta, I don't know. But
So
anyways,
it's like the elements?
yeah, so it's the different elements and the way that your personality and your health kind of, so whatever you are, so say I'm a pitta, then you need to balance with vata, which is water, and like more water elements in your life so that you don't have one element that's like over dominating the others.
So I could be like a fire type Pokemon, and then you could be like a water type Pokemon.
Basically. Pretty much.
All right, let's cut it there.
Yeah.
Because that's like an entire other kind of Eastern philosophy of like
Sure.
the elemental types.
Yep.
Like fire, water, air, earth, and metal.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that everyone talks about.
Yeah.
Well, there's four, because like sometimes people don't really differentiate between earth and metal, but sometimes they do differentiate between earth and metal.
Right.
So, long story short, let's not go there.
Tips from your boyfriend.
That's right. All right, so next time we're shooting is Wednesday.
Yeah, same for Wednesday.
Did we? No, we scheduled class for tomorrow and Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Tuesday.
Oh, Wednesday's Valentine's. Do we want to do?
We can do a short stream. Why not?
Okay. Sounds good.
Like whenever you want.
Yeah.
Anytime by Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be good. All right, I'm Chinggis.
I'm Bethany.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yay.
Ugh.